evening. I have a little bit to contribute, and I also have a couple of questions for the analysts. But my contribution first. So I think one of the questions was how do you institutionalize and ensure that people live and breathe the practices that you try to implement. And like I tell my boss, the first thing I'm going to prioritize is the thing on my scorecard. Now, what we've managed to do well in we work with First Academy, which is our training. And we have a lot of CBT, personalized training that you must take every quarter. The system automatically sends you an invite and it schedules you for all the training, 27001, BCP, to all certifications that we think are important for the employees to know. And after you go through that training, you have an exam at the end of the training.
Right.
It will automatically score you, and it will tell you what you are going to get in your scorecard at the end of the quarter. So you already know you have 5 points down, 95 more to go. So I think that's very key, because I have to admit, even when I get those emails, I start scampering around for one of them, so I can start reading. So when you do it once, twice, it just becomes part of it. And that's one thing. Benefits. I think that was very important for us. And then key man risk. I think that was one of the areas where it was really successful. Before we started doing the certifications, we had areas, especially in technology, where one person was the Lord and Master. He can't go on leave. He has to be handled with care. But when we implemented a lot of the process, these gaps were clearly identified, and we made conscious efforts to ensure that they were mitigated. So I think that's my contribution. With respect to questions, I have 3 questions, right? The first one to all the panelists, and the last 2 I think would be to Bimbola. So one of the key success factors is definitely who leads the initiative. So with respect to business continuity and information security, because I think it's easier to see from a business perspective the advantages, the value, and how important it is. It's easy to push the business to lead that initiative. But, I think when it comes to do with a lot more technical certifications like CMMI, for example, and unfortunately, most of the certifications, for one reason or the other, IT is in the forefront. But we found a way to push it to the business for all the other ones. But for more technical certification, we struggle.
Like ISO 20,000, for example.
Exactly, ISO 20,000, and it even gets worse with things like CMMI. So how do you think it would be best sold to the business? How do you, because we have decided to build a culture that we want as much as possible for the business to drive our projects. So how do you deal with projects like that are very technical in nature and you want to hand over the business to the business? I've had an ED come to a stairco before, and after sitting down for 5 minutes, actually I think it was 20K. I don't know if you remember that. After sitting down for a couple of minutes, he says, Femi, I don't know how this thing concerns me.
Why am I here? Why am I here?
I don't know why I'm here. So that's one. The second thing is with the gap analysis, and I think that question goes to people. My fear with doing a gap and then getting another vendor to do the execution is that you may have a situation where the vendor that comes to do the execution does not totally agree with the gaps that have been identified, or may say there is an additional gap that you need to close to be certified. That definitely will cause some cost issues and of course scope as well. So, how do you manage that risk? And then finally, scope management. I think I come from the same school of thought where I like to have a win-win situation with the company and the vendor. But I've had situations where there's clearly a scope change that the business is fighting for. And I try to be, debate it to say, my colleagues, you guys, this is unfair. And people will tell me, whose side are you on? Are you for us or against us? So basically with scope, when it's clear that, your institution is violating the vendors or pushing the vendors around, how do you manage it so that it doesn't seem like you are part of the vendor? Yeah. Thank you.